Holly Hope here with the Sacred Unweaving podcast. This is the Beauty Perspectives guide to unweaving those distortions and sacred teachings of ourselves for full embodied human experiences. I have the amazing, the epic Cyndi Brown on. So excited for her. She is a beautiful guide that helps people to align with their highest version of themselves and be able to live their most potent and best life. She's an intuitive coach and a guide to help identify negative perspectives, blocks, and the reason she's so fantastic is because she has 25 years in the corporate structure world. So she knows the ins and outs of what it means to live in this human world and follow those dynamics. She's also discovered that life's meant to be enjoyed and not just endured. And she now has this powerful bridge between the non-physical world as a beautiful medium, as well as the understanding of corporate worlds and business structures. So the most powerful thing I love about Cyndi is that she has this ability to offer this sense of clarity and directness with this immense amount of love, and the ability she has to see people, not just the non-physical people, but to see each individual as their raw human potential and their good side, their ugly side, and just love it all and help you to feel very okay with who you are. So I want to say thank you and welcome, Cyndi, for all of your beautiful offerings and being on with us today.
Thank you so much. I am so honored to be here, and thank you to the beautiful Holly. She really has been such a great inspiration in my life and really allowed me to connect the dots that I wasn't able to do before. So I'm so grateful to you, Holly. Thank you so much. You really allowed me to step into who I really am and embrace that and all of its wonderness and messiness all at the same time. So thank you. I really am so honored to be here.
I love it. And I love the flowing wind, adding to your mysticism here. So we're going to flow. Well, and a lot of people, I think one of their first questions is, how did you go from this jump of the corporate world into this spiritual realm and being this powerful mystic that can help people to connect dots for themselves too?
I will be honest, I didn't expect what happened to happen. So I have been in the corporate world most of my adult life. I was the major breadwinner in my home and still am. And I owned a business for about 6.5 years. And I had a partner who decided that stealing was his highest priority. And so he stole quite a bit of money from the business. And then COVID hit. And I suddenly came face to face with myself. I had to close the business, and it was everything. I was my agency. It's the way that I identified. It was the way that I felt my confidence. It's the way that I identified with my children and with my husband and with the world in general. And I thought, if I don't have this company, then I'm nothing. And I literally remember after having to close the business, and I mean, it changed not just my life, but it changed so many people that had worked for me. It changed their life. And I felt that personally. And I remember laying on the floor of my closet and begging God to take me, because I literally thought, I have nothing left. Like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do now, because this is gone. And you gave this to me and then you took it away. And I was so angry and so hurt and so many things. And I literally was just like, okay, that's it. I'm done. You could take me. Like right now you can take me and I'll be done. And by the grace of God, he didn't, which I was very grateful for. Because it allowed me for the very first time in my life to come face to face with who I actually am. I'm not what I do. I actually have so much more, and we all have so much more. We are such powerful beings living in this fleshy bag for, 80 to 100 years, however long we get to be here. Some of us shorter, some of us longer. But that's not who we are. That's not our essence. We're so much more powerful and so much bigger than that. And when I had to come face to face with that reality, that's when I had a decision to make. I had to make a decision on if I was going to allow the doubt and the fear and the overwhelm of losing a company and losing a business that's very physical and very in this world, or if I was going to rise and actually ask myself and the universe, what is it that you want from me? And that's when I met you. and everything started to come along.
And I love one thing that really stands out for me is this identity piece. And so I'm just gonna like, ooh, because I know that that's a question I get a lot of, you're in this unraveling and your self-identity as this successful, brilliant businesswoman is shattered. And then other areas of your life that are affected by it, even being a person of integrity and having employees and other people you're working with, and now that looks on you. And so there's also an identity that comes into play when we open up spiritual gifts and we go from such a drastic polarity from logistically 3D corporate to, oh, I can see things that nobody else can. So that identity shift is a big jump. Did you find that that was a challenge for you to see yourself as a medium? Is that what you call yourself?
Yeah, I think what happened was that I came face to face with myself for the first time in my adult life. I was 50 when this happened. And as a young child, I have always had the ability to see the spiritual realm. Since I was a child, I would have spirits visit with me. I saw things that the average person didn't see. I tried to talk to my parents, but my childhood was really dysfunctional in nature and emotionally abusive and not conducive to support. So as a child, my parents thought that I had just an overactive imagination and they never really asked more questions. And I remember feeling weird about it. And I remember the very first time my great grandmother had just passed. And I had gone to her funeral. I was maybe 5 or 6 years old at this time. This would have been my grandpa's mom. And I didn't know anything. I mean, I didn't grow up in a religious home. And so I really didn't know much about funerals. I went to this funeral and everybody was so sad and crying. And I just felt the weight of the sorrow and the grief. And it was hard. So that night, I went to bed and I was really scared because I had witnessed and had felt all of this emotion and then I didn't know how to process it and I didn't know what to do. So I would take my blanket, put it over my head, cover my mouth so you could just see the very bits of my eyes. Because I thought if you can't see me, I can't see you. Right. So, but I remember distinctly at that moment that somebody came into my room and I thought it was my mom, actually. So I turned over, there was a window right beside my bed. And as I turned to look, there was my great grandmother, though she looked beautiful. And she was standing there and she communicated to me that
Chills.
she loved me, yeah, that she was safe, that she was okay, that she was happy, that this was the way of of life and that this was supposed to happen. And I remember feeling so much peace and so much um love at that moment. So I turned back and I thought, did I really see that? And I turned back again and she had left. And that's what scared me because she was gone. And so I
Mhm.
screamed and my mom came in and she put a blanket on the window and everything like that. And I told her what had happened, but she just said, you must have been dreaming. I was not dreaming. And so things like that had happened pretty periodically throughout my childhood and then kind of went away as a teenager. I had a couple of experiences as a young adult, and I really kind of just tried to bury that. I knew that I had the gift, and I would open the door a little bit and then shut it because that wasn't who I was supposed to be, right? I was supposed to be this strong corporate um, provider for my family. So I didn't have time to talk to spirit.
I think that a lot of us who have these gifts pop in at an early age, they do get sidelined as imagination. I know I've had several medium friends who they literally will say, like, I had the biggest imagination ever, and then one day I realized it's not my imagination because that's the part of the brain that's very similar. And then I know on the other side, there's those of us like me who I could feel and sense things but not see them. And my
Yeah.
blanket went all the way over me. I just leave my mouth out to breathe.
So I could breathe. Yeah.
I don't even want to see them. I don't want them to see me. I don't want to see what I'm not seeing. And for me, I would have night terrors over and over. So I shut
Oh, I did
everything
too.
down. And I
Mhm.
refused to acknowledge that I was feeling anything because
Yeah.
the panic was so intense. And it
Yeah.
wasn't until my early 20s that things opened up again. And it wasn't until there was a need or a desire. I'm curious what the experience was like when you started to open up your gifts again and you started to be more comfortable with them and started to say, okay, I'm going to do something with this.
I think that it was a gradual progression because I've always known things that there's no reason I should know them, but I know them. right? Um, go check on the neighbor. I think something has happened and we find out that the husband had just passed. Go, let's call this person or let me go check on this person. And so I kind of have always had that. But at this moment, when I lost my company, um, I had started to do some journaling. And one of the things that really helps you connect with your true self and your higher source and also spirit is journaling and then automatic writing. So I started to journal and I literally started to write my conversations with God or the universe, whatever you believe in, right?
Yes.
Whether it's God or universe, I believe in God. So I would write out my conversations with God, and I would talk about all of the things that I was feeling and all of the things that I was going through, and ask all the questions, and then I would pause, and then all of a sudden the thoughts and the words would I would start writing them, and I would write and I would write and write and write until I couldn't hear it anymore in my head. It wasn't an audible voice; it was inside my head. And and then I would pause and I would read it and I would realize at that moment that that was the exact direction that I needed for that particular moment,
Mm.
right? So that was the beginning. And then it was like, okay, but how do I get through the trauma and how do I get through the loss? And that's when I discovered the drums with you, and the drumming reorganized my being. I don't know how else to describe it. It reorganized the inside of me. It was able to reorganize it and heal it and make it more in alignment. So there wasn't that fear anymore. That wasn't the fear of, oh gosh, it's okay if you see dead people.
Which is a big fear.
Right?
I hear
But
it
it
all
was,
the time.
yeah. But it was the first time that I thought, wait, my higher self is powerful. She wants me to connect with her. She wants to speak to me because I have a work to do right now. And it was a combination of the journaling and meeting you and the drumming and really starting to unwind all of the conditioning I think that we go through as humans. We get conditioned that it has to be this way. You have to do it this way. You have to believe this. And if you don't, then something's wrong with you.
Mhm.
And that's just not true.
I agree. When it's so funny every once in a while when people are coming to me for a session for the first time, I let them know like, and I'll tune in. It's kind of like channeling, don't worry, my eyes will roll in the back of my head and I'll drool and convulse a bit,
Words
but
will
it'll
come
be
out.
okay.
Yeah, you're fine.
And I do it with a straight face and I just watch them go, what?
Really?
And I'm like, I'm
Yeah.
just kidding. You probably won't even notice that I'm tuning in because
Yeah.
it's so automatic and it's not the dramatic facade that a lot of times we've been fed with when we've looked at movies and media. And so there is a lot of fear that I feel like comes through that. I know that one of the things that I hear a lot is, well, I'm afraid to open up and see because if I let myself see what's there, then what if I see something that I can't handle? Or what if I see the scary? Or what if I see something that didn't have permission to come in? So, are there things that you do that kind of eliminate that fear of something scary coming through or something dark or evil coming through so that you know exactly who you're communicating with?
I think the very first thing that helped me the very most was going through your empath course. Am
Mhm.
I an empath? And understanding that things that I'm feeling, some of those emotions definitely are mine, but so many of them were not. And I was picking up other situations and other people going into a restaurant and being so happy to be at the restaurant and leaving with the grouchiest, baddest, horriblest attitude in the world. And my husband's looking at me like, what is wrong with you? I just took you to dinner. Like what? Like, what's wrong with you? That was a big switch for me, right? Because I was able to go, oh, wait, this isn't mine. And once I was able to
Yeah.
understand and say, is this mine or is this someone else's? And the answer immediately come. Then I was able to go, oh, it's okay for me to open my eyes because I can decide if this is really mine or if this is somebody else's. And if it's somebody else's, it's okay for me to let that go. And one of the things that you said to me was so life-changing, Holly. You said to me, oh, you like to collect trophies. Oh, you're feeling anger? I'll take that. I can hold on to that. Oh, you're feeling sadness? I'll take that and I'll hold on to that. And that changed my life because all of a sudden I went, oh my gosh, she's right.
I'm glad you remember because I was channeling, so I don't. I'm like, oh, this is going to be good. I can't wait to hear it.
And it was one of the reasons
Oh,
why I had this weight gain that I couldn't lose. And I mean, I was just collecting everybody's shit and putting it on me and burying myself, because it was easier to do that than it was to look at myself and to
mm.
accept, kind of who I was.
It almost seems like I love when I introduced you and I shared, like you have the ability to see people, and it almost seems like as soon as you started to see yourself, then it made that ability to see everything else that much more potent. And
For
that's
sure.
like one of my most favorite things about you. So I'm like, oh, that as the sun just keeps like pinging in. I love it. It's
Yeah.
beautiful. We're keeping it. We don't care about visual aesthetics. It's beautiful.
Okay, good. I'll sit closer.
No, don't change. I was adoring it. We see you. You're so much
Yeah,
light. It's okay that it flashes in.
it is a lot of light. But I think once I embraced the light and the darkness, because there was a moment where I was like, ooh, I don't want to see what's dark. I was so afraid of it. And after being able to sit in the light for a minute and understanding that light is so much more powerful than darkness, that even if there is darkness, it's okay. That light always comes in.
As it comes in.
Yeah. As it comes
Well, and
in.
I always relate light to also truth and the truth of who you are and the truth of who you aren't. And even the parts that we don't love about ourselves, but just honoring and accepting those parts and knowing those parts, even if it is unchangeable at this time or we're working on it, that still offers light to those parts. So there's not necessarily anything to be scared of within ourselves.
No, actually not, because it's only a moment. It doesn't last forever. It's just a moment, right? Or I always say it's just a day. Tomorrow's a new day. Today's just a day and it's going to pass. And then we've got tomorrow. So embracing all of the messiness of ourselves is actually true freedom.
Mhm. I did write a book once called The Death of the Self-Love Excuse because it's the idea that we already love ourselves because we have self-preservation. It's about accepting all the parts of ourselves and not perfectionisting, that's a word now, ourselves
I
up
love it.
to a standard that doesn't even exist. And so I
Yeah.
love the freedom, like you shifting into this and just over the years watching the unfolding and just how much more bright and beautiful and clear you are. So I do want to highlight what other people might experience when they're gaining that clarity. So a lot of people go to a medium, because they're in grief and they're like, oh, I miss this person and I just want to connect. And then they connect and it's like, hey, how are you? Good. We're going to spend this conversation proving that I'm actually here. Okay. And then they walk away from the session. And every time I've seen that, and even when I've experienced it, it was like, well, how is that going to change anything in my life? And I love the way you've bridged this gift of being a medium with a tactile back into the 3D world, how you're applying it. So, do you have some stories that you want to share about sessions where you've done that or what a session would look like?
So here's what's super important for people to understand. And there are a lot of talented mediums. And so please take this from the place in my heart that it comes from. When our loved ones pass, or when your spirit guides are typically assigned to you at birth, and they're with you for your entire life. Most of the time you do not know who they are, or you don't know, they're not someone that lived and then died and then, right? So they may be a family member from way, way back in your line, but they're assigned to you at birth and then they're with you until you die. But what's important to know is that when you sit with a medium, we don't have the power to call anyone forward, because they all have their free choice and their free agency. And who comes forward is not up to me. It's not up to any medium, really. It's up to that individual person and what the person that you're sitting with needs. So that person may need to see their sister or to see their mom or to hear from their grandmother, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that person's going to come through, because even though they feel like they need it, they might need something more. So maybe it's a grandfather that comes in and reminds them of the steadfastness of their soul and their spirit and how grounded they are. Or it might be their guide that steps forward and says, these are the things that are important right now for you to do. So So whenever I'm in session with someone, there's a couple of things that are super important to know. That one, I can't tell the future. I don't want to. And even though I may hear some things, right? I'm not going to tell you anything that you don't already know innately. You're going to hear it and you're going to go, oh, I know that that's true. And you're not going to know how you know that that's true. It's your higher self confirming to you that it's true. The second thing is that I never know who's going to walk through. And I don't try to guess and I don't try to pretend. And in fact, the less I know about you, the better, because then I don't get jaded. Right.
No bias.
So, but I think it's super important that you know that your loved one is in a safe space and they may or may not come through. They may not feel like they need to come through. They may just continue on and in their journey and their existence, and they've left this 3D world behind. And that doesn't mean that they don't love you, and it doesn't mean that they don't care about you, and it doesn't mean that they're not mindful of you. It just means that they've they've found their truth and they found their light and they've moved, right? I remember my grandma died, and I was sure, positive that she was going to come to me because she knew that I had the gift and she was my favorite. I was so close to her and I was so excited and I was just hoping. And when loved ones that are attached to me pass, typically they come to me in a dream, because it's the easiest way to get my attention, my full attention, right? So they come to me in a dream or in sunshine.
In sunshine.
But she didn't come. She didn't show up. And she didn't come to me for 10 years. 10 years. And it wasn't until I was getting ready to go to the intensive healing retreat in Mexico, the first one that we did, wasn't until then that she came to me the night before I got on the plane. And she came to my dream and she said, I'm so proud of you. And I'm so happy.
All the
And
spirit
it,
bumps.
but it took that long, right? Now
Mhm.
she could have come to me at any time, at any time, and I would have received her with love and excitement. And I wanted to see her, but because I wanted it, didn't make it so. And the same thing happens when you're sitting in session. Just because you want it doesn't necessarily mean it will happen, but you are, gosh, I don't know how to say this other than you are so divinely supported. If people understood how much support was around them, they would never be afraid to take risks. They would never worry. They would recognize that they're in the right place at the right time at the right moment, that they're never early and they're never late. They're right on time every single time. And and spirit is there to help you as you go through the journey, not do it for you.
It is so powerful. And, as you were talking about her, I was thinking, it's really interesting because sometimes as a mentor, there are times when I pull back a bit and I give space and time for them to try and figure it out themselves so they can see the empowerment that comes from just being handed the answer and the confirmation. So I kind of wonder if there's some of that going on of like, I know you know that I'm here and I know you know that I can come to you. So now you need to know that you know yourself and
Yeah,
like allowing that
definitely.
space.
Yeah, definitely. I think there was a lot of that. And not everybody that passes in my family comes to me. Um, and so, but, but once I, once I got in touch with my higher self, once I was able to connect with who I really am and realize that I was a powerful being of light and love and um, completely unconditionally powerful. I don't know how else to explain that, Holly. I'm just like, I have so much I can give. Like it's never ending. That supply is never ending. The minute I walked into that, I wasn't afraid to also be open to others who are on this path and that may need just a little bit of guidance or may need a little bit of support or encouragement
Or just to be seen.
or to
Um,
be seen.
one of the phrases I really love is if only they knew the magic they could do, they would never doubt again. Like if you only knew who you were and at your soul level, there would be no fears, there would be no distortion. You would just move forward with that light. But we have these conditions and these experiences that we do need guidance to move through sometimes. And it's not that we can't see it, but we just get so used to it that we don't. And sometimes coming from the outside, we have that support we need.
Well, and you can't mess it up. I don't know how else you can't mess it up. Like you can't mess this up.
It's an experiment. It's one
It's
big
an
experiment.
experiment.
What do you prefer? What do you not prefer? What worked? What really felt yucky, but you also kind of like it because you keep going back to try and figure out why it felt yucky?
Yeah, exactly. You can't mess it up. I tell people all the time, I'm like, look, if if it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. Like that, I just need you to focus on that for like the next 2 weeks. Every decision you make needs to be a hell yes. If it's not a hell yes, then it's a no. And that changes people's lives because all of a sudden they start living for themselves instead of everybody else and every other thing around them.
Mhm.
And that's one of the other ways that you connect to your higher self because you start asking yourself these questions, not waiting to have somebody else's opinion, not waiting to see what somebody else thinks. I'm asking me, Cyndi Brown. Cyndi Brown, do you want to go to Kazi today? Hell yes, I want to go to Kazi today. Right? Do you want to spend all day in the sun? Hell yes, I want to spend all day in the sun. Right? When that embracement, I don't know how else to say it. Woof, the wind, holy
As the
cows.
wind picks up, embrace, embracement. Yes. Because we can
I'm
create.
telling you that the wind is not blown all day until now when we're doing this.
It's that whole army of support that's surrounding you and
And
all
it's
guides
getting
that are
bigger. Look at it.
surrounding.
It's just,
It's even shaking
woo!
the camera.
So do
Here's
I need
your
to move
raw
inside?
power of light. Well, embracing the winds of change, and for those ready to create some change, what are some of the ways that you offer sessions, or how can people find you?
You can find me on the Beauty Perspective website where my information is. You can always go to the beautyofperspective.com and look under practitioners, and I'm listed there. And a session with me is really just connecting with your higher self and see what comes through, what messages come through that are divinely orchestrated for you and what you need in your life at this moment.
I love it. And I love the clarity that you offer. So much clarity, so much light. So amongst the chaos of the whirlwind, you hold your center and know who you are, and then you know what you're not.
Yeah,
That's powerful.
that was really hard because there's so many modalities, right? And I thought, oh, I'm going to teach people how to make drums. It's not my thing. I'm not very good at it. I mean, I can do it if somebody's holding my hand, but I'm not. That's I love to use them, and they said they saved my life. There's no doubt the drums saved my life for so many reasons. But my gift to the world is to let you know that you're not alone. You're just not. You're never alone. And you don't have to walk through life by yourself because you're not.
And it's that isolation of, I don't belong, or I have these gifts, or I don't have these gifts. So something's wrong with me. And being able to have somebody in that presence to say, you are abundantly supported with light and wind angels and things flowing through. And now your camera's doing rainbows, and the rainbows are supporting you. And you're able, like, with that essence of being seen and knowing you are being held, there is nothing you can not do. Like, you can have and do and be whatever you want and however you want.
It's funny because I heard a saying one time that said, you can have it all, just not at the same time. And I think that that's true. You can have it all. But our priorities shift as we grow and as we get older and as things change. And you have to be willing to swerve, as my one of my mentors, Roger Anthony, used to say, you have to be able to swerve with life and let it flow and get in that flow. So it comes with grace and ease, and you can have the things that you want in the timing that is meant for you.
In the timing that is meant for you. And also, I feel like your alignment to match with it, because if you
Yeah.
want something and you keep pushing towards it, but you're weighted down by things of the past or blocks, you're not going to be a vibrational match for it.
And I think that's what's so great about Holly, if I can say this, is that you're so good at finding the blocks and finding the shit And you're just like, okay, let me move that for you. Let me just, you're being blocked. Let's move that. And then we can get on with life. And I love that about you because it is your gift and you can tune in and find it with like laser precision. For me, it takes me a minute because I'm trying to, they give me pictures and words and I try to put it together and then I have to try to this, right? And so sometimes it takes a minute, but you have this laser precision to get in. So if someone hasn't had a session with you yet, man, I highly recommend it because you'll find out things about yourself that you always knew were true, but you didn't know how to move through it. And Holly helps you move through it. And she doesn't let you off the hook. She's like, no, no, we're going to keep moving. I remember one time I was in a session with Holly. I thought I was having a heart attack. I literally thought I was going to die, y'all. We were in this big session in with these women, and it was the first time I'd ever seen a drum. And I remember she was facilitating, and I looked at her and I said, my heart, like, I'm going to have a heart attack. And she's like,
He's
no.
like, no, really,
And I'm
call
like,
an
no, really,
ambulance.
I'm call, yeah, like I'm going to die. Like, I'm going to have a heart
This
attack.
is not energy. You are in charge. I forget what you said, but you said something very corporate-y. It was
Yeah, I
like,
did. I said something
you
really
are the
like,
responsible party for this event. Like, get me an ambulance. Liability, I think is what you said. Liability, get
yeah,
me an
yeah,
ambulance.
yeah, something like that. And Holly was like, no, no, come here. And then
I
she
did
stopped, like,
pause. I went,
she
Spirit?
did,
Oh, okay.
she did.
No, no,
Yeah,
no.
she was like, no. And literally it changed my life because I wasn't having a heart attack. I was releasing some garbage that I had been carrying for a long, long time that was coming through my heart chakra. And it was very, very painful. But I was not, in fact, having a heart attack. And I was not going to die. I was moving some shit that Holly had found. I was moving through some garbage that was holding me back. And it literally changed my life. So thank you for that, Holly, because it put me on this trajectory to where now I'm able to identify, I'm able to identify spirit and I'm able to carry light into other people's lives.
So part of you did die.
Yeah, a little bit. The
Little
the
bit.
part that needed to.
The part that needed to, that was holding back from being able to be an expression of that light and to have that freedom to connect different worlds and realms and energies so that people can really feel that ignition within themselves. I feel like that's one of the things that you do that I love to watch is that spark. Like that light's there. Hold on, watch. Fan the flames. There you go.
Yeah. Bonfire.
And here, now you can understand what the flames are. So don't freak
Okay.
out. You have
Yeah.
control of the flame.
You are a fire mover, whatever they call it.
Firebender, airbender,
Firebender. Yeah. But
firebender.
in order to carry the flame, you have to walk through the flame. And it's super important that people understand that you can't carry a flame unless you've walked through it. So once you walk through the flame, now you're a flame carrier and you can help others walk through it so they also can and carry that flame. And that's a really important lesson to understand that sometimes hard things happen to us and they happen to every single person. It doesn't mean you've done anything wrong. It doesn't mean that you're undeserving of something else. It means that this is part of your life's contract and you have to walk through the fire to carry the flame for whatever the reason may be. It may be for someone else later in your life that you don't know. It may be for you, but it happens to everyone.
I love that reminder because a lot of times I've been at points where I'm like, this is so horrible. Why would I even want to come out of this? Like, I've been in those suicidal moments that you described. Like, I'm like, oh, yeah, I know that exact feeling. And I think I swore at God a lot more with fouler language.
Probably not. Mine was
Probably
pretty
not.
fast.
Probably not. It felt
We
very,
could say, yeah,
yeah.
we were aligned.
We'll be honest with ourselves. Yeah, it was a big tantrum. And in those
Pretty
moments, there
much.
was that little tiny spark of thought, like, but if I figure this out, if I can move through this, imagine me helping even just one other person.
One other person.
Or,
That's right.
sometimes we get stuck in a guilt piece where it's like, woe is me and poor me. So we love to operate out of guilt sometimes. And I use that for my advantage because I'll even say, okay, we'll give up then, Holly. Okay, I give up. I get to give up. And then I'm like, wait a minute. Now, if there's somebody who's frustrated or crying or been praying for support, you giving up means they don't get the support from you. How does that
It's
feel? It's
amazing.
like,
Ooh, that's worse.
Fine,
Fine,
not
I'll do
more.
it.
But it does motivate us,
Yeah,
especially when we are allowing ourselves to not just show up for ourselves, but for others. And the more we do show up for others, the more we automatically show up for ourselves, not in a people pleasing way, but like, I'm going to walk through this fire in order to be on the other side and share this light. Have you ever fire walked?
I have not. It's
Like
on
on
my
hot coals?
to-do list. It's on my
Oh,
to-do.
okay. So if you are doing a fire walking event, I know it's going to pop up in my feed now. I know I'm going to see
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I remember it was about 10 years ago. I was in a really dark place. It was right after my husband had just left, and all of my belief of family and happiness and connection to spirit was all tumbled on the floor.
Right.
And I was tumbled on the floor. And somebody invited me to do a fire walk, and I was like, I don't know what this is, but sure, we're pretty suicidal at this point. So yeah, maybe we'll
Why not?
burn. Like I'm just
Yeah,
being honest. You know,
yeah,
when we go
yeah.
dark, we go dark. If you're gonna have a
We
party,
go very
then
dark.
you're gonna go
You go
dark.
in the well,
Yeah.
in the well,
And I
deep in the
remember
well.
as we started, they have you sitting, and first they let you watch the whole burn of this huge pile of wood. And it's so hot, like my makeup melted on my face, and I have like mascara running down my face. Like it's that hot. And you're like, that's what you're going to walk on. And they do it on purpose to show you the fire and the fear and to let that churn inside of you. And then right before you walk, you choose something that you believe that you choose to not believe anymore, or that you don't think is possible with your mind that you want to be possible. And I remember, like, light as day, my little piece of paper I had written down, it was because I can walk on fire, and then another impossible belief or something that you're struggling with, I can be happy again. Like that was so simple, but it was so hard for me to even believe it or see it. And then I literally not only walked on the fire once, I went back and I'm like, wait, I walked too fast. And so then I did it again,
That
slower.
sounds like you.
Wait, I did
That
that too.
sounds like you.
Let me go slower. Let me go slower because I didn't even feel a burn. Because I can walk on fire, I can be happy. And I went again, walking it very slow, and I finally felt a little warm. And it was like, oh my goodness, the world as I see it is not always correct.
It's true.
And things I think will burn me sometimes will just ignite me and strengthen me. And so, as you shared walking through the fire to share it, I'm like, oh yeah, like I would love to do that again. Maybe we should make a, I don't want to facilitate that
Let's do it.
liability.
Okay, yeah, it's true.
However,
Somebody else. Somebody else knows
somebody
how to
who
do it.
does that, that would be wonderful to set up something like that
Yeah, it's
because
cool.
it was really powerful to physically see something that you can't ever fathom believing come through. And, you know, even when people have a session with you, the things you speak, I know that there's a lot who may say, whoa, how are you able to do this? What's going on? Where's this coming from? And all these questions come in. So I love that we're able to have this conversation so they can go, it's okay that you don't see it and you don't understand how it works or why it works. Like I still don't understand why the coals don't burn my feet. It was really hot. And then I even like put something on them to make sure they were hot and it melted. And I was like, okay, cool. Yeah, no, it's hot. But it was a matter of allowing myself to trust it, even though I didn't logistically 3D know how it works, because it's not something of this realm. But yet it does interact with us in a way we can understand when we have somebody to interpret and make it safe and filled with love and ease and so much light that keeps blasting through. So thank you for your offering
Well,
of doing that for
you're so
people.
welcome. Thank you. It is an honor, and it truly, we truly are so guided and protected and watched over, and there's just so much that we can do. So much that we can do if we allow ourselves to do it.
Any last shares before we wrap up and complete
Um,
our discussion? I mean, I know we can talk for days.
yeah, we could. You and I could talk for days.
Well,
I think
maybe have to do a part two.
I think if I could say one thing, um, death is not scary. It's just a transition.
Mhm.
Your soul is forever. It lived before, it'll live after, and it lives now. And now is the time to embrace the very present and know that um, you have guides that want to be in touch with you. They want to talk to you. They want to clear the path for you. And I can teach you how to do that because I've learned how to do it myself.
Because you walk the fire.
I walk.
Oh, and you can walk the fire with them. They don't have to do it alone. Yay. Sometimes we
And they,
forget that
yeah.
piece. Oh, I can do this because somebody is there who has done it 400 times that will allow me to go through. And even though it's intense for me, it's a fire walk in the park for them.
And I think it's important that everybody has individual gifts. We all have individual gifts, and my gifts are not the same as yours, and yours are not the same necessarily as mine. Like when I close my eyes, I see black, I see darkness. You could say any kind of picture, and I don't see anything but dark, right? Most people see whatever you say. They say you see an apple and you see I don't, right? Not everybody hears spirit the way that I hear spirit, right? Or feel it the way that you feel it. And it's okay. You just have to figure out what works for you and how they talk to you, because they do talk to you. You just have to recognize how they're talking to you. Does it show up in a dragonfly landing at the side of you and sitting there for 30 minutes and not moving? Does it show up as random numbers that you keep seeing over and over and over and over again? My grandmother leaves me shiny new pennies all over the place. They're in the most random places. And I'll pick up a penny and that's her. I know that it's her because she used to say, see a penny, pick it up, and all the day you'll have good luck. And so she'll leave me shiny pennies all the time. So learning how spirit communicates with you is one of the most important things.
I'm excited to hear people's experiences as they dive in and start to illuminate that light within themselves. I'll drop the link below so you can find Cyndi on social media and also directly on the website and get all of her details and her information at thebeautyofperspective.com. Thank you so much, Cyndi, for being on. And thank you, wind and the beautiful sky and the trees that are dancing all these light codes and blasting us. I love that extra energy came into our conversation today. Very mystical, very magical.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.
Honor.